Hello, everyone. I'm Arbutus Washington, and I'm back to present some information on the 13th Amendment, racial profiling, and the idea of pipelining minorities, especially black people, to prisons, and the need for congressional action to abolish the very element that makes modern day slavery remain. The 13th Amendment states, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. One of the articles on the subject that I read was written by Brandon Hasbrouck and published in 2020 in the UCLA Law Review's online publication. Hasbrouck stated, the 13th Amendment prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude except as punishment for a crime and provides Congress with the power to enforce this prohibition through appropriate legislation. An article by Edward Cowell III of St. John's University School of Law published an article in 2019 and stated, the 13th Amendment didn't just condemn the laws and acts of slavery, but the badges, incidents, elements, and indicators of slavery. Congress has the right to intervene and make laws to combat, condemn, and abolish such laws, acts, badges, and incidents. For example, the element of the badge of a man's skin color and the indicator of any characteristics of a person that would cause others to deem them worthy of slavery was abolished. The acts, treatment, or indicators of slavery seem self-explanatory. But the authors mention the elements of slavery, the elements. To explain one of the main elements of slavery, I have to include the history of policing. The history of policing stems from the days of slavery in the South when a group of individuals were appointed to hunt down, punish, or torture slaves to make examples of them. The policing included excessive force, torture, and punishment, or even death to terrorize black people to maintain control by breaking into their homes by slave patrols, which reminded me of the Breonna Taylor incident. The use of surveillance, and by any other means to control the slaves in the 1700s. In the North, in the 1860s, came the Black Code, which were laws that pertained to only black folks, and policing policies. Hasbrouck stated, during that time period, policing was created to control black people who were labeled by police as dangerous. Since America's founding, this assumption of dangerousness subjected free blacks to constant scrutiny and invasion of privacy by white authorities. Laws such as the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 federalized black dangerousness and suspicion in the North, providing slave catchers and police authorities to surveil and capture runaway enslaved blacks and free blacks. The Black Codes, criminal laws that applied only to black people and were intended to control the black body, allowed police to terrorize blacks to enforce racial subjugation. Subjugation is defined as taking a race of people and making them subordinate or bringing them under control or dominion. These laws were deliberately crafted to return blacks to slavery by a different name, convict leasing, that echoes in modern prisons today. Many people have stated that they felt like the prison department was infiltrated by white supremacists. But according to the foregoing statements, the police were originally created to protect white individuals and police the blacks. But after slavery was abolished, the 13th Amendment offered another avenue to continue the slave labor needed to maintain the industries that required that labor to remain stable and profitable. The police force was never infiltrated by white supremacist groups. They were made up of this group. In the later years, they became infiltrated by those that did not share the white supremacist views, and thereby causing cognitive dissonance or internal conflict for many. That avenue was plainly stated in the amendment as the conviction of a person that allows the individual to be construed as a slave. In a previous video, I talked about the vast numbers of individuals in prisons which held a disproportionate number of minorities. In the news, we have heard of police planting evidence to ensure conviction, and even judges that were instrumental in falsely sending minorities to jail and other incidences of that sort. But now to the idea of how Congress could stop all of this. The question is not could they, but would they? One of the elements of slavery is white supremacy, because it is the perception of white supremacists that minorities, namely blacks, are less than human and deserve nothing more than a life of slavery due to the perceived spiritual curse from their given religion, providing them with the justification to enslave my race of people. So because white supremacy is an element or component of the continuation and existence of slavery, that fact alone gives Congress the power to create legislation to abolish or dissolve all white supremacy groups, as they did the Black Panthers in the 1982s, in the 1980s, since they have the 13th Amendment as a basis for that legislation. Except for one thing. The Congress or legislators seem to have white supremacists and white supremacist supporters as sitting members, thereby eliminating the possibility of legislation to abolish these groups that purposely police poor and black neighborhoods to ensure that the prisons remain full of slaves to support these corporations, departments, and industries that depend on their slave labor to continue. They keep the numbers of prisoners up because that seems to be some sort of quota. Truth in sentencing laws, 3 strikes and you're outlaws, and other laws created overly lengthy sentences and ensured that blacks and other minorities got sentences instead of opportunities like probation, diversionary programs, or rehabilitation programs, as stated by one of the participants in one of my studies, who was convicted at a very young age with a first offense, a nonviolent crime, yet received a lengthy prison sentence. And some people in the 3 strikes that you're outlaw, they receive life sentences, nonviolent crimes. So if you know that legislators have the power to stop this, and there is a need for legislators that advocate for the people, then we know exactly what we as a people need to do, just like they did in Georgia. And if you would like to help or support PIs and my organization in providing assistance to PIs and other needed individuals, please go to my website or donate or volunteer. My website is helpfromthesanctuary.org, or you can donate directly through PayPal using the email helpfromthesanctuary@yahoo.com. And I'll list those in the description. You can follow me on Facebook by looking for Help from the Sanctuary Incorporated. And I hope you tune in for the next video where I will discuss the need for social change and offer some suggestions for which to advocate to assist previously incarcerated individuals or PIs in the reentry process. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and please hit that subscribe button to help keep these videos coming and create awareness of the issues. And thank you. And until next time, never forget to show concern for others and help one another.